Sureya, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Thank you.
I want to talk about poverty in Canadian Muslim communities because there's this perception amongst Muslims in Canada that Muslims are upwardly mobile, they're all professional, they're wealthy individuals. But that's not actually the case. I mean, Sureya, you live in Regent Park and you see many Muslims who are struggling to make ends meet, working precarious jobs. So I wanted to talk to you about that to find out why that stereotype exists about Muslims and, what is the reality?
The reality, what you said is true, but at the same time, not everywhere. Yes, the Muslims are educated, the Muslims are smart and all of that, but at the same time, there are Muslims who are not, they didn't come with a skill set or they didn't have opportunity to go to university or college. So the only thing that they have was whatever that available for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which means they come here with limited knowledge, and the only thing that they did was available for them was taxi driving.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they were educated back home, but they didn't have networking to help them get that jobs that they came from back home. The only thing available for a decade, 2 decades was taxi driving. That's the only thing that they do. But we're seeing now the taxi industry has been hit.
Yeah.
Also during COVID, and they lost a lot of people who lost their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it does a lot of harm to the families as well, and people losing their confidence as well, and to provide their families. Yes, Muslims are not lazy, but limited access to the resource, services, experience, language, that has huge impact to catch up with the rest of the communities as well. The Muslim who are in professional setting as well, sometimes they don't let other people to join the field,
Mm-hmm.
the field that they should be coaching. They should be helping the fellow Muslim communities as well. But most of the time, that's not the case. And I think we need to think outside of the box and to help those individuals. Yes, you're established, but at the same time, how can you help your fellow Muslims?
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes they make assumptions, like they're not really, because it's not their reality, right? So they can't even think about that reality properly. I was once working with a Muslim organization, and the requirement was that every person on the board give a certain amount of money, and it was quite exorbitant for me. I believe it was like $1,000, and I was thinking, like, I can't really afford this because I was a student at the time and I was not, very well off.
Yeah.
But I was too ashamed to say that I couldn't afford it. So I just gave the money, right? Whereas it was a huge chunk of my money, right? So things like that. And then if they have a dinner and the seats are like $250 or $500. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
But there's an assumption that everybody will be able to afford that.
No, not everybody could afford. And in terms of like, there is a way of saying, and it's like, if you are not at a table, you're going to be in the menu. Who are missing on the tables, you need to be mindful of as well. There is a people who cannot, like, let's say if whatever that you mentioned, the dinner, and there is a lot of family cannot afford.
Yeah.
And they cannot meet in their end meets and to support their families, but you won't see them asking.
Exactly.
Yeah. You, as a Muslim, like that's not our culture, to beg and stuff. But at the same time, within the relationship what we build, that's how we find out who's struggling as well. This is why we need to connect and with the rest of family members or the rest of the community, and to find out like what do the support they need. The least the people who could beg is a Muslim community. But at the same time, we need to have within the relationship that we build, we need to find out who is struggling. We have people who lost their husband, or people who are going through healthy issues and invisible healthy issues that they are going through. With building relationships that could tell you what is the support that needs. But they are not lazy. They are not, they want to sit and do nothing. They don't know how to go about and accessing those resources, or they don't have networking that they could go about and get those, whatever that it is.
Can you speak about that? Like, because networking is so important, right?
Oh, yes.
But when you're poor, when you're less well off, you don't have those networks. Like, for example, if you want to become, if you're thinking of careers, right? You might not have a lawyer in your social circle. You might not have, a judge or even a teacher, for example. You might not even have, your parents might not have gone to university. You don't even know how to access university,
definitely,
right?
Definitely.
So can you talk a little bit about how that impacts an individual?
So a lot of people who are in the community are first generation of immigrants. They didn't go college or university themselves. And if you don't know, and you don't know how to help your kids as well, you don't have information. Let's say your kids had information, but at the same time, they think that this is not reachable for them, or they don't have capacity to think that this is possible for them as well. And because of limited resource, like you think about, it costs you $200,000, for example, to go to a doctor or whatever lawyer, but like you cannot imagine when you cannot put a food on the tables and thinking about that as well. This is where the community could step in, coach those young people to support and show them what it is. There is a lot of scholarship, but those young people, they don't know how to go about accessing those scholarships, or they don't have time to write those scholarship XY that requires.
Because they might be working multiple jobs,
exactly. Right? Those kids also supporting their families as well, and helping paying bills or whatever that it is, and they don't have time to. When I say they don't have a time, they don't. And that whatever job that they do also precarious jobs that after school. So to be productive in schools and chasing those scholarships is not visible for them. And this is where the people who are established, who have been here for a long time, those Muslims, and reach out to shadow those young people and coach them and show them around as well. And because of them, they will get blessing, isn't it? And then a part of our deen, like when you help and extend with the people who are struggling, that's your a ticket to your Jannah. And when you help out, yes, you're established, here you are comfortable. But at the same time, if you think about it, and there is a reason why Allah said, you help the people who are struggling, who are suffering, this is where you get the blessing as well. And I think instead of judging, and let's reverse it. Like, how can I get my blessing? But
I think sometimes when Muslims think about the poor, they think about just donating, right? Giving their money. But I get the sense that you're saying it should be more than that.
Exactly.
Right? Because you don't want to be a charity case, but you want to be like involved in the community in the same way and have a place on the table so that you can make decisions. That will impact you, but also impact the community as well.
Definitely. There is so many ways you could involve. And you mentioned sitting on the board. But at the same time, there is a lot of scholarships that you sit on that board. I could access it and look at what your requirements. Is it the people who need it there? Let's say Max, like I don't want to mention their name, but this Muslim scholarship they could give, but they need to think twice the way they give out those scholarships. Is it accessible for those people who are trying to access those scholarships? The issue is people they don't know those information accessible. Is it accessible? It's not accessible for them. Another thing is those individuals, they only have their network within the circle. The circle is only closed off.
It's insular, yes.
Yeah, and they don't have that information. So the only way is someone need to intervene and show them where they go about and navigating those resources or services that exist. Yes, they do live below poverty. That's clearly, it's obvious. But don't expect them to seek those information and navigate it, and they will overcome everything and that what they are going through as well. We need to extend our hand and we need to have compassion, I would say.
I think the Muslim community also needs to work together with people who are marginalized to try, like like to advocate, like to the government, for example,
Yeah.
to say, look, we care about these social issues because it's impacting people in our community. We care about poverty. We care about making sure that people have jobs, that sort of thing.
Definitely. Yes.
We often think about foreign affairs, like foreign issues, but this is a
Yes.
very real issue that's affecting people.
Yeah. This is what I said. I said, you need to look at your community first and then extend your hand overseas. Nothing wrong with extending our hand for overseas, but at the same time, let's solve our own issues and ask why, and speaking about advocacy, why is a lot of Muslims, Blacks, extension or background from African descent, why they are in jail still? There is a system is set up that is not letting them to come back in society. There is another country who they overcome this challenge that they have. Yes, they commit mistakes, but at the same time, how can we bring them back and make them to be productive in society instead of cut them off and that's it? There is no hope. And there is the city has, if you are committed crime or whatever, there is no job when you come out. And this is where also professional Muslims could advocate for those need to be changed. If it doesn't serve us, need to be changed. Like this was written how many, 100, whatever years ago, but it's not serving us right now for current Muslims or another human being. It's not doing good to the whole society. And like you need to have advocacy table, also policy changing tables to have that. Yes, they made mistake, but you have to have a place to support those individuals. If there is need to be rehabbed, and if there is employment opportunities, instead of stigmatizing them and cutting them off, there is so many places that the Muslim community who are established need to play a roles. It's not only food bank. Yes. It's temporary. It will bring a relief to it, but at the same time, you cannot solve every issues with only food banks. Yes, like kudos the people who start halal food bank, but at the same time, you cannot just put them in the food bank and forget about those individuals. There is so many things that they need: coaching, scholarship opportunities, job opportunity, advocacy in city level and provincial level, federal level, that all levels that we need to be on the table.
Thank you for sharing that, Sureya. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
If you enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe, and please donate to support our work at QuranSpeaks.com.